Hey guys, my name is Ryan and welcome to Overwatch Central. So I wanted to do a little bit of a news and community roundup at the start of this week because we have a lot of stuff coming. Before we get started real quick, I did see a comment a couple of days ago talking about how they missed when this channel was all about brevity, being really concise, and I really took that comment to heart, and ironically I'm rambling on now, but I just wanted to say that I saw and listened to that feedback and I'm going to try and do that a lot more in future videos. And I'll cut down on all of the superfluous rubbish that I say. Thanks for that feedback though. I want to go very quickly. We have the developer update sometime this week, Farah PTR changes sometime, the last qualifiers in Paris for the World Cup, but we'll start with the stuff that no doubt a lot of people are talking about right now, and that's this new Brigitte bug/tech. Now I don't want to focus on this too long because I do feel like this is going to be hotfixed very, very quickly, but there's some really interesting opinions and perspectives on this that I do want to go over. On screen you're seeing exactly what I'm talking about. Brigitte can now jump vast gaps by using essentially all of her abilities at once. So how you do this is you hold forward, you jump up in the air as you're doing so, shield bash and then immediately flail shot, and it will project you forward in such a way that you can make big jumps that you couldn't do before. Hell, there's some dive heroes that can't even make the jumps that you're seeing on screen. This was found out on Reddit and on Twitch by Cappy and Arek, who both just basically tried out a lot of these examples which I'm showing on screen. So big shout out to them, and honestly good spot because this stuff is honestly game breaking. But one thing that Iostuck said that really interested me was what I wanted to highlight in all of this. So we have this bug, this tech, this exploit or feature, whatever you want to call it in the game. It wouldn't surprise me that Blizzard would fix this because they did it with the mega jump that Brigitte had when she shield bashed off certain objects. But Iostuck, who is the XL2 coach, had this to say: I really like the new tech that was discovered for Brig. Of course I think she needs a nerf, but I think tech like this can make for sick plays and interesting strategies, and it's also an extra skill for high level players to differentiate themselves from casuals. Whilst I do think that Brigitte needs something to separate good and bad plays of her, but I do think in this scenario it would just mean that Brigitte was so good in so many different areas. But do let us know what you think of this, whether you'd like this in the game or not, or whether it should be patched out. Now to go over some other news stories, one Reddit post that really caught my attention from Moss, that's genuinely his name, is he highlighted how little comics we've had this year in comparison to the year that Overwatch launched. In 2016 we got 10 Overwatch comics, in 2017 we got 5, we're almost at the end of 2018 and we've only seen 1 comic released this year. Again, highlighting how little lore that we've had in Overwatch so far. Somebody in the comments did highlight that the hiring of Alyssa Wong, who is an award-winning writer, might mean that we'll see more story, more comics, more animated shorts, written lore, just generally more of it. So I think it is worth highlighting. Comics kind of get lost in between everything else content-wise within Overwatch, but I think it's wise to sort of bring attention to that. Be, hey Blizz, come on, comics, story, lore, please, soon, because Lord knows I'd like to see a little bit more there. Penultimately, we just had the World Cup qualifiers in Bangkok. 2 teams going through with China and Australia. Sweden missed out narrowly, but it really does show how competitive that group was. China especially surprised a lot of people, and I did want to briefly talk about that. So me, myself, I cast the Overwatch Contender Series for China, or one of the casters there. So I've had a good opportunity to see players like Gu Shui, Leave, Shy, some of the amazing players that are in that scene that honestly wouldn't go amiss in the Overwatch League. And that's one of the big misconceptions that I kind of want to go over, maybe a little bit more in depth another day, but how China as a region isn't bad just because Shanghai Dragons went 0-40 and were honestly god-awful to watch. This was down to the man management of that team, a lot of corrupt choices of how the coaches picked the players that went into Shanghai Dragons. It wasn't a case on who was best in that region, it was down to stuff like nepotism and promised slots. Who knows really what went on there, but what I'm saying is that Shanghai Dragons weren't the best Chinese players in that region at all. This Team China, however, could make it quite far in the finals. And I certainly think like a player like Gu Shui, who was the main tank player for China, is Overwatch League for sure. As I said, maybe I'll talk about that some other time, but I did want to say that China isn't a bad region because Shanghai Dragons were bad. The Chinese region is still pretty good. Just a little bit worse than EU, I would say, but certainly a lot worse than Korea. And finally, I wanted to go over the Seagull clip where he talks about the experience of climbing on ladder.
Spectral says, it's funny when stuff like this happens because people always like to say if you're good, you'll climb no matter what, and it doesn't matter about your team, but here's a prime example of where if your team is bad, you can't do anything. Dude, every person in the game has like 1 in 4 games you will lose, and there's literally nothing you can do. And then there's like 1 in 4 games where you could just throw your game, and you'll probably still win because you get carried. but the other like half of your games, you can actually do something. So most of the time, those are the games when people say like, if you're good, you can carry. Those are the games we're talking about, not games like that, which are just like super rough.
This echoes something that Istuck said once in one of our other videos and generally on Twitter, where out of 100% of your games, 40% you will lose no matter how good you play, 40% you will win no matter how bad you play, the 20% is the difference on the games that you can control and dictate depending on how you're playing and what you're doing. So it's good to see this idea augmented by two very important players in the community, that there are just games that you will lose no matter how bad you are, that there are just games that you will lose no matter how good you're playing and how much you're carrying, and there will be games where you could just literally go AFK and you still would win. The games in between are the ones that separate a good player from a great player. But that's everything that I wanted to go over. I didn't want to talk too much about the Brigitte changes. I do feel that they're going to get patched. So I didn't want to waste anybody's time talking about amazing jumps that you could do and that kind of thing. But as I said, from tomorrow we should get a lot of good news. So this is going to be a really interesting week within Overwatch. Let me know if you're excited. I certainly am. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you had a good weekend. Take care. We'll see you then.